Right, good morning. Hope you're all well, and welcome to our first pilot webinar. My name is John Newman. We also have Liam Minna online, who may appear in the chat column at some point. I'm going to present this short presentation, which is already published on our mobile market development website. And if you are a current MWP subscriber, you can download, perhaps Liam, you could just put up the link to the website where this presentation sits. If you want to participate in the chat, you can log into YouTube or your Gmail account, and that would enable you to post, as Liam has just done, on the chat window there. So I'll try and keep this reasonably short, run through it quickly. If you have questions, feel free to either put them in the chat and we'll try and deal with them as we go through, or alternatively, you can contact us afterwards, and there are various links available to you to send us an email, or we can speak on the phone or Skype or however you like. Okay, so let's see if this all works. Skipping through to what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to have a look at what our position is. We conducted some research in the first half of 2017, looked in at 14 MNOs in 8 countries, looking for innovative approaches to dealing with out-of-bundle propositions that were being offered to customers. And these were the conclusions that we came to. I will finish with conclusions as well, but I think it's quite handy just to get a sense of where we are by starting with a sort of summary and hypothesis. So our assertion is that MNOs have largely until now been exploiting out-of-bundle customers by increasing the rates that they pay for data, for voice, for texts, and so on. And we find, and I'll come back to this again later, but we find that quite a lot of them are extracting quite high margins for revenues that are out of bundle relative to those that are in bundle. And that can cause a lot of problems. It's an age of digital disintermediation. We have WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, Viber, and many others, Amazon, Google, and everybody who are looking to build relationships with your clients and to disintermediate MNOs. And it's a big issue. And the problem is that exploiting, the problem with the out-of-bundle charges is that they can feel exploitative to the customer, and you can't afford to annoy those customers at a point when they can select alternative means to do the things that they need to do. And the more pain points you give them, the more churn catalysts they have, and the more likely they are to take their business elsewhere. And the fact that there's a disproportionate amount of revenue from out-of-bundle spend is always annoying to customers. And that annoyance, apart from anything else, also attracts regulators. So we may see actions by regulators, as they have already taken actions against roaming and various other areas where MNOs have been perceived to be making too much money to address what they do there. So there's a possibility of disintermediation, there's a possibility of regulator action, and this is catalyzed by high charges and a punitive approach to out-of-bundle. So our assertion is that you need to think about different ways of dealing with this out-of-bundle expenditure and behavior, but it's difficult because the problem is when you have high margin revenues, it's very difficult to turn your back on them, and you've got stakeholders, shareholders, whatever, who are sitting there saying, no, we like that element of the business, we don't really want to give it up. But the digital disintermediation means that the whole balance of risk and reward, the equation there shifts. So you need to really think about how you do that. And so the next slide looks at the options available to M&Os at bundle expiry. And I've tried to map this out on a sort of fairly simple matrix with a sort of target in the middle there. Aiming for the center of the target isn't necessary. So the focus, there are two sort of focuses, if you like, or foci on this chart. So we have on one axis, we have at one end operations-centric, so that's people who focus on the network and how that operates and load factors and efficiency and so on and so forth, which has always been at the heart of being a successful M&O. And on the right-hand side of that axis, we have customer centricity, which is much harder to do in many respects, particularly if you've got multi-billion euros, dollars, pounds worth of infrastructure that your whole business model depends on. Whether you're revenue focused or network load focused really depends largely on whether the network is in good shape and easily coping with the loads that are being put upon it. So if the network is patchy or congested or difficult to manage for various reasons, then you're going to be focused on network load. If your network is serenely sailing along, perfectly coping with what's going on, then the chances are you're going to be more focused on earning more revenue from the network that you've got. So if you take these two factors into account, I've got a bunch of behaviors down the right-hand side of this graphic here, which describe what are options. So for example, people with a good revenue focus and a fairly competent network are more likely to charge penalty prices for overage, because there's revenue. If they're network load focused, they might charge them in order to discourage people from using it to address congestion rates. But the option here, maintaining in-bundle rates for out-of-bundle usage, you've got to be both customer-centric and have a network that's in good shape to be able to do that. Throttling is a more network load type activity, because if your network is at its capacity, then you don't want to be going around pushing more traffic on the network, even if it's going to make you more money. Going down that list, not looking at all of them, but zero rating, for example, again, you need a good quality network in order to be able to do that. But that's quite a customer-centric focus, because you're improving the customer experience. Conversion to hybrid is interesting. That's quite customer-centric, because you're evening out the spend of the client. You're giving them a better expectation of what they can get and what they can do. Rolling over unused bundle happens less when you have a network that is overloaded. So you can see, and I think it would be good practice to sort of have a think about your own operation and think about where do you sit in that on that target, and how does that explain where you are in terms of behaviors and how you interact with clients at the end of a bundle. Do you punish them? Do you help them to find a better plan that suits them better? There are always issues here. There are always issues to do with having a revenue focus or not, but also a customer focus or not. So, it would be nice if everybody was in the sort of category B here, where they could be revenue focused and customer centric. That would be the ideal position. But you've got to be realistic about where you are. Take a look at yourselves on the target, and that might help to explain to you what you do and why you do it. Our research shows that most operators are very much operation-centric, but a few are moving towards being customer-centric. But this requires quite a big leap of faith and a commitment. You're going to be losing easy money. You're going to be increasing the network load. You're going to be reducing the effective rates for data or voice, and possibly even pushing ARPU down. All of these things are difficult to explain at annual report time or to CEOs or whatever. So why would you actually do this? Well, the alternative, of course, is that you lose traffic to and the relationships that go along with that traffic to digital alternatives, and they don't pay for your network anyway. So I can't remember who said it, but somebody said you should eat your own children, and self-cannibalization is actually preferable to allowing digital players to come and cannibalize your customer network, because you don't even get the nourishment from it. Okay, so then that's really our sort of position. We've got a number of, we looked at, as I say, 8 countries and 14 operators, but I've just got a couple here which show a different approach to how they look at this this area and what they do in terms of, sorry, I've got out of balance with my slides here. So this basically just says what I've just been saying. The idea is that when you get to the end of your bundle, you should be able to provide sort of small incremental add-ons that enable you to manage your own spend as a user, as a customer. You don't want cliff edges, you don't want bill shock, you don't want absolute bars on usage that prevent you from doing something right when you're in the middle of a critical activity. All those things will be churn catalysts. But all of the options that you need to take actually do have the potential to reduce margin. So there may be some issues there, but I think if we look at the research we've done, we found that actually it's not as bad as it might be. So let's have a look at now we'll get on to the supporting case studies. We've got a couple of the examples here. The first one is T-Mobile USA. This has shown a fairly committed approach to the use of out of bundle and changing the way it does out of bundle, and it's all part of its Un-carrier strategy, which has been quite a success story in the USA. You've had the KPIs in Q1 2017, for example, show that it increased ARPU. It's improving the ARPU of post-pay, prepay is actually up to 80% of the post-pay figure, which is unusually close, and it's adding new subscribers in a market that's been pretty tough, and in one that it had been in pretty long-term decline, T-Mobile USA, until it's adopted this Un-carrier strategy. So what did it do? It went for data-centric bundles with protection against bill shock. It made it easy for customers to buy and renew and hybridize the customers, and it provided a nice sort of steady stepping stones of upgrade options so that they could self-manage their usage. And also it actually launched the Metro PCS, or it actually acquired the Metro PCS brand. So it actually has two prepay propositions with slightly different brand propositions. So if we look at the very simple simple packages that they can use that have actually turned around T-Mobile USA's options position in the market. They've added, as well as doing the hybridization and so on, they've also added 0 rating to music streaming for any package, I think, over $40 a month, and they gives them access to up to 40 music streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff like that. And in general, the tariffs are very simple, and a lot of work has been done to sort of maximize the value to the customers. So, for example, all the plans come with T-Mobile's Data Maximizer, which reduces video to 480p or DVD quality. So it's a resolution that is apparently ideal for the smartphone. You don't want 4K on a smartphone screen. You can't really make use of that resolution, but you also don't want the bandwidth being used to carry it. And they do use throttling still, but they also offer customers the ability to use the handsets as a hotspot. So it's all very open, but they still expire if you get to the end of your bundle period and you've got capacity left that doesn't roll over. So there are elements still, even in T-Mobile's proposition, where they still are if you like, network load focused rather than just purely revenue focused, and that probably demonstrates some issues around the capacity of their network as it stands. So again, it's a very simple approach. It's very easy to understand for the customer. There aren't any punitive charges. So if you go into the T-Mobile as opposed to the Metro PCS area, the prices in bundle and out of bundle for calls and SMS are effectively equal. There's no additional charge. The higher level plans feature unlimited calls and text, so they're commoditizing the voice and SMS stuff. They're introducing zero rating. They have incremental passes for unlimited HD video streaming for a period, and throttling. So again, it's simple. They're not likely to upset too many customers with that. The allowances are generous, and they also provide a good match to the needs of their clients without having to force them to buy a load of capacity they're not going to use. So the other one that I put in here, a little less enthusiastic, shall we say, about their adoption of the out-of-bundle approach, and part of that is that Italy is quite a unique market in Europe. It was very much a prepaid first market, actually down to the tax structure that was incorporated into the mobile phone business by the government when mobile was first rolled out. But Vodafone, in all its operators, reports out-of-bundle versus in-bundle revenues, and the out-of-bundle revenue has reduced in 2017 to 27%, to 23% of the total from 27% of the total. But as this represents about 5% of the traffic, you can see that it's highly profitable, and in fact other areas are falling. So messaging revenues fell, but data usage increased. So we see here, and really Vodafone's approach has really been to look at how do they help people to step from one area to another, and to add capacity to their bundles without having to make it too difficult. And they've got some quite interesting little innovations here. They have priced their packages around data, but if you look at the minutes and SMS allowances that are in their prepaid tariffs, they're not very high. They're not really, they haven't really fully embraced the unlimited voice and text. So they're still using and charging for top-ups for voice and SMS, which demonstrates the caution, I guess. And it's interesting that they have their unlimited packages here, but customers for zero rating music, but there's a 5 GB limit, fair use, which they can go beyond, but they'll be throttled on that. So again, showing caution about how they get to this position. One of the things that Vodafone Italy has done well is to take a strong focus on data usage. So there's a My Vodafone app, and Vodafone Shake is available on both the youth tariff and for their junior customers. And what that means is that you shake the phone while the app is running, and it will purchase an add-on bundle at a beneficial rate. So those rates actually represent quite a saving on if you just use your credit in a run-on way. So they are moving towards and I guess making it funky with their approach and using apps and so on and so forth. So it's a good start, but it's not going all the way there. So I'm going to stop in a minute, but I just want to say that the studies we showed, these were just 2 examples from the companies we looked at. They do show that KPIs actually can benefit from adopting an approach that commoditizes legacy services, that provides unlimited voice and SMS, and builds the tariff around the data proposition. If that eliminates or reduces perceived punitive charges for going over the bundle, or at least makes it easy for them to add, a megabyte here or a gigabyte there, or additional capacity as required, what happens is that the usage does go up. And in all the cases we looked at, usage went up quite a lot, but the revenues actually tended to stay quite flat. So if you're looking at it from an ARPU point of view or an effective rate point of view, that can seem quite negative. But actually, it's quite difficult to retain revenues in this day and age, and the cannibalization pressures are only going to get worse as digital becomes more entrenched. And MNOs need to provide propositions that will attract and retain customers. And if the cannibalization is done by the MNO rather than by some third party, then bypass becomes less likely. The customer lifetime value is likely to increase. And this is what we found. And subject to demand from the customer base of Maximising Wireless Profit, we will be putting up a more comprehensive report with some more of these 14 case studies that we looked at, and possibly some updates showing how the most innovative companies are actually getting some benefits from taking an updated approach to their out-of-bundle business and moving it away from being a cash cow situation to being a customer relationship improvement opportunity. So that's me done. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, then feel free to word them now or contact us later. This broadcast will be available on YouTube using the same link that you follow to get here now. Thanks very much. Goodbye.